Hey, I've got two lists on review for you today, and this first one is from Richard, and I just wanted to read you a bit of what he writes about the list. So, he writes, Hi, Bo. I'm constantly reading and watching new content while getting my miniatures ready. Yeah, I guess a lot of us are. The gaming groups for me will start up in the new year. This list was inspired by your talk with Alistair and his AirPower list. Ooh, that is, that's a powerful list. The idea of modeling a 175p 47 or a P51 really appeals to a lot of us, right? It's the next level of our hobbying, and we've built all the tanks now. Time to go for the airplanes, isn't it? I also like the idea of a self-contained recce platoon with an M2 half-track. Yep, finally found a use for those recce's. No spotters for my medium mortars as I have two air observers, right? So medium mortars will be a thing. I like armor, and I'm really torn with the decision in the US list. While the Panzer III is a go-to light tank for the Germans, the M3 Stuarts are now not an option as thin size is too easy to kill. I went with Shermans, but I'm looking at M5A1 Stuarts, as I think they're almost the equivalent of a Panzer III. I don't agree with that, but we shall see once we talk about the list itself. Maybe the list is off by two order dice from being acceptable. Maybe it's too balanced, but I think probably a good list to start with in a competitive social gaming group. Competitive social gaming group. Right. Let's see what that means for Richard, shall we? I just need to find the list. Here we go. So this is his list, 17 order dice. I think 17 order dice is perfectly acceptable. It may be a little low depending on where you're playing, Richard. It may be a little low for highly competitive games, but I mean, yeah. Air observer list. So it's got an inexperienced officer. It's got airborne with a single BAR. These will be useful. You need to find the right place to place them. So they need to be in the front of your deployment zone if you've got the 12-inch deployment zones, just in order to reach with the BAR. Otherwise, you're going to need to go and get yourself LMGs instead. The air observer. Yeah, this is deadly. Very, very good. And then bazooka teams. Bazooka teams are really good for Americans, and they're what makes most American lists, I think, able to stand up to enemy armor. Light mortars, inexperienced. Yes, just the way I run them. Remember that you can shoot smoke. If you want to cut down lanes, it will take some time, but you can have a couple of light mortars just shooting at a single area and then popping smoke on that area. That can cut down lanes of fire. Then we have a regular platoon with a platoon commander, an airborne squad, and the air observer. A bazooka team and a half-track to transport everything in. Very nice, self-contained, just the way that Alistair talked about his self-contained recce platoon. This may be the first time I've seen a use for a recce platoon. It's a really cheap access to the air observer. And then we have an armored platoon here, Sherman medium tanks, 240. These for me are too expensive. I think potentially you could go and grab yourself Hellcats. It's a question of value for points, right? And it's a question of how competitive do you want this to be. If you want to be a little bit more competitive at some point, I mean, the Sherman is bloody iconic, right? So if you want to feel something that your opponents say like, ooh, this looks cool, then the Shermans, go for it. If you want to feel something that's a little bit more competitive, you can go early war Stuarts, the darker Stuarts. They're still viable, but they're not as good as they were. Or you could go and get yourself Hellcats, like a single or two Hellcats, and you've got all the anti-tank you need. And because they've got Recce, they can, move away from anything that threatens them. A heavy weapons platoon. Yes, I still love my heavy weapons platoons. It's got a mortar. It's got double mortars here, regulars, and a platoon commander. So that's 4 mortars, 2 of them light and 2 of them medium. I like this list. This is good. The second list I've got for you today is from Hubert, and he also wrote maybe I should find that for you guys. I will. Right. Hi Bo, could you give me your opinion on my Italian colonial army? We will do that in a second. Thanks for the analysis on your channel. It really made me want to start bold action. All the best. That I'm so honored that anyone wants to start bold action because of me. All I do is just look at what I think is interesting about this game, and that's the competition part. So I'm honored. Thank you so much. That was a nice mail to get. Let's go and see what Hubert is building, shall we? He is building this Italian list. 22 order dice, 1250. That's a good order dice count. It's high, but not excessively high. I like it. Inexperienced platoon commander, colonial troops, inexperienced tough fighters. This combo, though, in version 3, the inexperienced tough fighters, they are going to get absolutely trashed because they will be shot to pieces before they ever connect. Yes, if you can get them to connect in close combat, they are very deadly and they're very cheap. I mean, I would wish my partisan pistol-armed dudes were still viable, but they're not. And for 2 reasons. Inexperienced don't hit that hard in close combat because they get shot to pieces, and it's really difficult to get to close combat. So, I would want these to be regulars at the least. Light mortar teams, inexperienced, double of those, yes. An armored platoon. Armored platoons is where it's at competitively right now. Medium tanks, and this is a darker tank. That's the M15. Love it. So the Germans and the Italians are now the only nations that can really field darker tanks. Germans are better, but this M15, because it can split fire 3 ways, also really nice. And 150 points is not overly expensive. And he gets more of these. M15. Saharianas. Ooh. Now, do you want to field the Sahariana? The problem here is you're going to have to take shots at some point. Right, and everyone has ranged fire, so and an LMG can absolutely kill you. I am not sure about the Saharianas anymore. Sorry. The light autocannons, I love those, and the Saharianas are cheap. Yes, I agree, but is it worth it? The risk of just getting killed by an inexperienced MMG team sitting on ambush waiting for you to drive up. I'm not sure. Test it out. Let me know how you did. And then rifle platoon. Again, we have another officer. We've got more colonial troops mounted on horses. These I like, though, because they're so maneuverable. But be aware, cavalry is really, really hard to use, especially in V3 where your cover save has gone down. So it needs training, but they're really good flankers. 1 on each flank, moving up. Love them. And with the Italians here, you could easily, find some really cool minis, North African Bedouins on horseback or camels or something. Love it. Love the modeling opportunity of that. Train a lot in how to use and when to use cavalry. And more of these inexperienced tough fighters, I'm not seeing that regulars. Anti-tank rifle team, beautiful. Light mortars, beautiful. And heavy weapons platoon as well. Double medium machine gun, inexperienced, just the way I run mine. I'm not sure this heavy weapon platoon is needed though, but it does give you an extra officer, always useful. The 2 MMGs, always also useful. So, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Right. Let me hear how this works out, Hubert. I don't think you'll see much close combat with the colonial troops, but I do like the cavalry, and I like the Saharianas for outflanking, which I think is where they need to go. So have your M15s be your baseline, along with the infantry, and then outflank the Cav and the Saharianas. No, outflank the Saharianas, have the Cav run up on your flanks. Right, that I think is the way to do it. Right, thank you everyone for tuning in. That was me for today. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.